The Medes N1/Mich/ Old Persian Māda, Ancient Greek, Mu Delta Omicron Iota, Hebrew, were an ancient Iranian people N2 who lived in an area known as Media, northwestern Iran and southeast Turkey, and who spoke the Median language. Their arrival to the region is associated with the first wave of migrating Iranic Aryan tribes into ancient Iran from the late 2nd millennium BCE, circa 1000 BC, the Bronze Age collapse, through the beginning of the 1st millennium BCE, circa 900 BC. This period of migration coincided with a power vacuum in the Near East, with the Middle Assyrian Empire, 1365 to 1020 BC, which had dominated northwestern Iran and eastern Anatolia and the Caucasus going into a comparative decline, allowing new peoples to pass through and settle. In addition, Elam, the dominant power in ancient Iran, was suffering a period of severe weakness, as was Babylonia to the west. From the 10th to late 7th centuries BCE, the western parts of Media fell under the domination of the vast Neo-Assyrian Empire based in northern Mesopotamia, but which stretched from Cyprus to ancient Iran, and from the Caucasus to Egypt and Arabia. Assyrian kings such as Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, Sennacherib, Esarhaddon, Ashurbanipal and Ashur-etil-ilani imposed vassal treaties upon the Median rulers, and also protected them from predatory raids by marauding Scythian and Cimmerian hordes. During the reign of Sinjarishkun, 622 to 612 BC, the Assyrian Empire, which had been in a state of constant civil war since 626 BC, began to unravel. Subject peoples, such as the Medes, Babylonians, Chaldeans, Egyptians, Scythians, Cimmerians, Lydians, and Arameans quietly ceased to pay tribute to Assyria. An alliance with the Medes and rebelling Babylonians, Scythians, Chaldeans, and Cimmerians helped the Medes to capture Nineveh in 612 BCE, which resulted in the eventual collapse of the Neo-Assyrian Empire by 605 BC. The Medes were subsequently able to establish their Median kingdom, with Ecbatana as their royal center, beyond their original homeland, and had eventually a territory stretching roughly from northeastern Iran to the Halys River in Anatolia. After the fall of the Assyrian Empire, between 616 BCE and 605 BCE, a unified Median state was formed, which, together with Babylonia, Lydia, and Egypt, became one of the four major powers of the ancient Near East. The Median Empire was transformed into the Medes Old Persian Empire in 550 BCE, and Cyrus the Great established the Achaemenid Empire. The established one, the mightiest empires in the ancient world, ruled for 150 years. They contributed a lot the rise of coexisting culture between and amongst various tribes and ethnicities. The Federation of Tribes they established was later developed into the Federation of States in the modern world. A few archaeological sites, discovered in the Median Triangle in western Iran, and textual sources, from contemporary Assyrians and also Greeks in later centuries, provide a brief documentation of the history and culture of the Median state. The Medes had almost the same equipment as the Persians, and indeed the dress common to both is not so much Persian as Median. Apart from a few personal names, the language of the Medes is almost entirely unknown. However, a number of words from the Median language are still in use, and there are languages being geographically and comparatively traced to the northwestern Iranian language of Median. The Medes had an ancient Iranian religion, a form of pre-Zoroastrian Mazdaism or Mithra worshipping, with a priesthood named as Magi. Later, and during the reigns of the last Median kings, the reforms of Zarathustra spread in western Iran. Besides Ecbatana, modern Hamdan, the other cities existing in Media were Laodicea, modern Nahavand, and the mountain that was the largest city of the Medes, Ridges, also called Ray, on the outskirts of Shar Ray, south of Tehran. The fourth city of Media was Apamea, near Ecbatana, whose precise location is unknown. In later periods, Medes, and especially Mede soldiers, are identified and portrayed prominently in ancient Persian archaeological sites such as Persepolis, where they are shown to have a major role and presence in the military of the Persian Empire's Achaemenid dynasty. According to the histories of Herodotus, there were 6 Median tribes. Thus Deioces collected the Medes into a nation, and ruled over them alone. Now these are the tribes of which they consist: the Busei, the Paredeseni, the Strushates, the Arizona Anti, the Budii, and the Magi. The 6 Median tribes resided in Media proper, the triangle between Ecbatana, Ragi, and Espadana, in today's central Iran, the area between Tehran, Isfahan, and Hamadan. Of the Median tribes, the Magi resided in Riga, modern Tehran. It was a sort of sacred caste, which ministered to the spiritual needs of the Medes. The Paredeseni tribe resided in and around Ispadana, modern Isfahan, the Arizona Anti lived in and around Kashan, and the Busei tribe lived in and around the future Median capital of Ecbatana, modern Hamadan. The Strushates and the Budii lived in villages in the Median triangle. The original source for different words used to call the Median people, their language, and homeland is a directly transmitted Old Iranian geographical name which is attested as the Old Persian Māda, sing masculine. The meaning of this word is not precisely established. The linguist W. Skalmosky proposes a relation with the Proto-Indo-European word med, meaning central, suited in the middle, by referring to Old Indic Madhya and Old Iranian Māda, both carrying the same meaning and having descendants including Latin medium, Greek meso, and German middle. The Median people are mentioned by that name in many ancient texts. According to the histories of Herodotus, the Medes were called anciently by all people Aryans, but when Media, the Colchian, came to them from Athens, they changed their name. Such is the account which they themselves give. The original population area of the Median people was western Iran and named after them as Media. At the end of the 2nd millennium BCE, the Median tribes emerged in the region, one of several Iranian tribes to do so, which they later called Media. These tribes expanded their control over larger areas subsequently, and, over a period of several hundred years, the boundaries of Media moved. Ancient textual sources. An early description of the territory of Media by the Assyrians dates from the end of the 9th century BCE until the beginning of the 7th century BCE. The southern border of Media, in that period, is named as the Elamite region of Samaki in present-day Lorestan. From the west and northwest it was bounded by the Zagros Mountains and from the east by Dasht-e-Kavur. The region of Media was ruled by the Assyrians, and for them the region extended along the Great Khorasan Road from just east of Harhar to Alwand, and probably beyond. It was limited on the north by the non-Iranian state of Mania, on the south by Alippi. The location of Harhar is suggested to be the central or eastern Mahidasht in Kermanshah province. On the east and southeast of Media, as described by the Assyrians, another land with the name of Pachuera appears. This land was located near a mountain range which the Assyrians call Bini and describe as Lapis Lazuli mountain. There are various opinions on the location of this mountain. Damavand of Tehran and Alvand of Hamadan are two proposed identifications of that location. This location is the most remote eastern area that the Assyrians knew or reached during their expansion until the beginning of the 7th century BCE. In the sources from Achaemenid Iran and specifically from the Behistun inscription, 2.76, 77-78, the capital of Media is named as Hamgmatna in Old Persian, and as Elamite Agmadana, Babylonian Agamtanu, etc. The classical authors transmitted this as Ecbatana. This site is the modern Hamadan province. Archaeological evidence. Median archaeological sources are rare. The discoveries of Median sites happened only after the 1960s. For some time after 1960, the search for Median archaeological sources has been for most parts focused in an area known as the Median Triangle, defined roughly as the region bounded by Hamadan, Malir, in Hamdan province, and Kangvar, in Kermanshah province. Three major sites from central western Iran in the Iron Age III period, i.e. 850–500 BCE, are. The site is located 14 kilometers west of Malir in Hamadan province. The excavations started in 1967 with D. Stronach as the director. The remains of four main buildings in the site have the central temple, the western temple, the fort, and the columned hall, which according to Stronach were likely to have been built in the order named and predate the latter occupation of the first half of the 6th century BCE. According to Stronach, the central temple, with its stark design, provides a notable, if mute, expression of religious belief and practice. A number of ceramics from the Median levels at Tepe Nushaijan have been found which are associated with the time, the second half of the 7th century BCE, of the Median consolidation of their power in the Hamadan areas. These findings show 4 different wares known as common ware, buff, cream, or light red in color and with gold or silver mica temper, including jars in various size, the largest of which is a form of ribbed pithoi. Smaller and more elaborate vessels were in grey ware. These display smoothed and burnished surface. The cooking ware and crumbly ware are also recognized, each in single handmade products. Gadan Tepe, its period 2, a fortified palace of a Median king or tribal chief. The site is located 13 kilometers east of Kangvar city on the left bank of the river Gamaz A with Makron B. The excavations, started in 1965, were led by T.C. Young, Jr., which, according to D. Stronach, evidently shows an important Bronze Age construction that was reoccupied sometime before the beginning of the Iron III period. The excavations of Young indicate the remains of a part of a single residence of a local ruler which later became quite substantial. This is similar to those mentioned often in Assyrian sources. These sources have both similarities, in cultural characteristics, and differences, due to functional differences and diversity among the Median tribes. The architecture of this archaeological findings that can probably be dated to the Median period show a link between the tradition of columned audience halls seen often in Achaemenid Iran, for example in Persepolis, and also in the Safavid Iran, for example in the Hall of 40 Columns from the 17th century CE, and the Median architecture. The materials found at Tepe Nushaijan, Gadan Tepe, and other sites located in Media together with the Assyrian reliefs show the existence of urban settlements in Media in the first half of the first millennium BCE which had functioned as centers for production of handicraft and also of an agricultural and cattle breeding economy of a secondary type. For other historical documentation, the archaeological evidence, though rare, together with cuneiform records by Assyrian make it possible, regardless of Herodotus accounts, to establish some of the early history of Medians. Rise to power. Pre-dynastic history. Iranian tribes were present in western and northwestern Iran at least from 12th or 11th century BCE. The significance of Iranian elements in these regions were established from beginning of the second half of the 8th century BCE. By this time the Iranian tribes were the majority in what later became the territory of Median Kingdom and also the west of Media proper. A study of textual sources from the region show that in Neo-Assyrian period, the regions of Media and further west and northwest had a population with Iranian-speaking people as majority. In western and northwestern Iran and in areas west to these and prior to the Median rule there were previously political activities of powerful societies of Elam, Mania, Assyria, and Urartu, Armenia. There are various and updated opinions on the positions and activities of Iranian tribes in these societies and prior to the major Iranian state formations in the late 7th century BCE. One opinion, of Herzfeld, et al., is that the ruling class were Iranian migrants but the society was autochthonous, while another opinion, of Grantovsky, et al., holds that both the ruling class and basic elements of the population were Iranian. During the period of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, 911–605 BC, the Medes, Persians, and other Iranian peoples of northern and western Iran were subject to the Neo-Assyrian Empire. This changed during the reign of Cyaxares, who in alliance with Nabopolassar of Babylon and Chaldea and the Scythians and Cimmerians, attacked and destroyed the strife-riven empire between 616 and 605 BC. Median dynasty. The list of Median rulers and their dates compiled according to A. Herodotus, who calls them kings and associates them with the same family, and B. Babylonian Chronicle, which in Gad's Chronicle on the fall of Nineveh gives its own list, is Deioces, reign 700–647 BCE. Phraortes, reign 647–625 BCE. Scythian, reign 624–597 BCE. Cyaxares, reign 624–585 BCE, and Astyages, reign 585–549 BCE. A total of 150 years. Not all of these dates and personalities given by Herodotus match the other Near Eastern sources. In Herodotus, Book 1, chapters 95-130, Deioces is introduced as the founder of a centralized Median state. He had been known to Median people as a just and incorruptible man, and when asked by Median people to solve their possible disputes, he agreed and put the condition that they make him king and build a great city at Ecbatana as the capital of Median state. Judging from the contemporary sources of the region and disregarding the account of Herodotus, puts the formation of a unified Median state during the reign of Cyaxares or later. Culture and society. Greek references to Median people make no clear distinction between the Persians and the Medians. In fact, for a Greek to become too closely associated with Iranian culture was to become Medianized, not Persianized. The Median kingdom was a short-lived Iranian state, and the textual and archaeological sources of that period are rare, and little could be known from the Median culture, which nevertheless made a profound, and lasting, contribution to the greater world of Iranian culture. Language. Median people spoke the Median language, which was an old Iranian language. Strabo in his Geography, finished in the early 1st century AD, mentions the affinity of Median with other Iranian languages. The name of Ariana is further extended to a part of Persia and of Media, as also to the Bactrians and Sogdians on the north, for these speak approximately the same language, but with slight variations. No original deciphered text is proved to have been written in Median language. It is suggested that, similar to later Iranian practice of keeping archives of written documents in Achaemenid Iran, there was also a maintenance of archives by Median government in their capital Ecbatana. There are examples of Median literature found in later records. One is according to Herodotus that the Median king Deioces, appearing as a judge, made judgment on causes submitted in writing. There is also a report by Dinon on existence of Median court poets. Median literature is a part of the Old Iranian literature, including also circa, Old Persian, Avestan, as this Iranian affiliation of them is explicit also in ancient texts, such as Herodotus's account that many peoples including Medes were universally called Iranian. Words of Median origin appear in various other Iranian dialects, including Old Persian. A feature of Old Persian inscriptions is the large number of words and names from other languages, and the Median language takes in this regard a special place for historical reasons. The Median words in Old Persian texts, whose Median origin can be established by phonetic criteria, appear more frequently among royal titles and among terms of the chancellery, military, and judicial affairs. Words of Median origin include *ira-, origin. The word appears in *irabzana, med, exalting his lineage, *iramara, med, having Mithraic origin, *iraspta, med, having a brilliant army, etc. Farna, divine glory, Avestan, Kvarna. Paradiesa, paradise, as in Perdiz. Spaka, the word is Median and means dog. Herodotus identifies Spaka, Greek sigma pi chi alpha female dog, as Median rather than Persian. The word is still used in modern Iranian languages including Talishi, also suggested as a source to the Russian word for dog Sobaka. Vazka, great, as modern Persian Bozorg. Vispa, all. As in Avestan. The component appears in such words as Vispafri, med fem. Dear to all, Vispatarva, med, vanquishing all, Vispavada, medop. Leader of all, etc. Shayadiya, royal, royalty. This Median word, Zerapia with macron, is an example of words whose Greek form, known as Romanized satrap from Greek satraps sigma alpha tau pi eta, mirrors, as opposed to the tradition, a Median rather than an Old Persian form of an Old Iranian word. Zira, evil, and Zirakara, evildoer. Religion. There are very limited sources concerning the religion of Median people. Primary sources pointing to religious affiliations of Medes and found so far include the archaeological discoveries in Tepe-Nushijan, personal names of Median individuals, and the histories of Herodotus. The archaeological source gives the earliest of the temple structures in Iran, and the stepped fire altar discovered there is linked to the common Iranian legacy of the cult of fire. Herodotus mentions Median Magi as a Median tribe providing priests for both the Medes and the Persians. They had a priestly caste which passed their functions from father to son. They played a significant role in the court of the Median king Astyages, who had in his court certain Medians as advisors, dream interpreters, and soothsayers. Classical historians unanimously regarded the Magi as priests of the Zoroastrian faith. From the personal names of Medes as recorded by Assyrians, in 8th and 9th centuries BCE, there are examples of use of the Indo-Iranian word arta, lit. Truth, which is familiar from both Avestan and Old Persian, and also examples of theophoric names containing Madaku and also the name Ahuram Mazd. Scholars disagree whether these are indications of Zoroastrian religion of Medes. Diakonoff believes that Astyages and perhaps even Cyaxares had already embraced a religion derived from the teachings of Zoroaster which was not identical with doctrine of Zarathustra, and Mary Boyce believes that the existence of the Magi in Media with their own traditions and forms of worship was an obstacle to Zoroastrian proselytizing there. Boyce wrote that the Zoroastrian traditions in the Median city of Ray probably goes back to the 8th century BCE. It is suggested that from the 8th century BCE, a form of Mazdaism with common Iranian traditions existed in Media, and the strict reforms of Zarathustra began to spread in western Iran during the reign of the last Median kings in 6th century BCE. It is also suggested that Mithra is a Median name, and Medes may have practiced Mithraism and had Mithra as their supreme deity. Fall. The Genjay Namet, lit. Treasure Epistle, in Ecbatana. The inscriptions are by Darius I and his son in Xerxes I. Apadana Hall, 5th century BC. Carving of Persian and Median soldiers in traditional costume. Medians are wearing rounded hats and boots. In 553 BC, Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, rebelled against his grandfather, the Mede king, Astyages son of Cyaxares. He finally won a decisive victory in 550 BC, resulting in Astyages' capture by his own dissatisfied nobles, who promptly turned him over to the triumphant Cyrus. After Cyrus's victory against Astyages, the Medes were subjected to their close kin, the Persians. In the new empire they retained a prominent position. In honor and war, they stood next to the Persians. Their court ceremony was adopted by the new sovereigns, who in the summer months resided in Ecbatana, and many noble Medes were employed as officials, satraps, and generals. Kurds and Medes. The Russian historian and linguist Vladimir Minersky suggested that the Medes, who widely inhabited the land where currently the Kurds form the majority, might have been forefathers of the modern Kurds. He also claims that the Medes who invaded the region in the 8th century BCE, linguistically resembled the Kurds. This view was accepted by many Kurdish nationalists in the 20th century. However, Martin van Bruin-Essen, a prominent Dutch scholar, argues against the attempt to take the Medes as ancestors of the Kurds. Contemporary linguistic evidence has challenged the previously suggested view that the Kurds are descendants of the Medes. Gernot Windfuhr, professor of Iranian studies, identified Kurdish dialects as Parthian, albeit with a Median substratum. David Neil Mackenzie, an authority on the Kurdish language, thought that the Medes spoke a northwestern Iranian language, while the Kurdish people speak Kurmanji, which is also a northwestern Iranian language. The Kidologist Martin van Bruin-Essen argues against the attempt to treat Medes as ancestors of the Kurds. Garnica Satryan stated that the central Iranian dialects, and primarily those of the Kashan area in the first place, as well as the Azeri dialects, otherwise called Southern Tati, are probably the only Iranian dialects, which can pretend to be the direct offshoots of Median. In general, the relationship between Kurdish and Median are not closer than the affinities between the latter and other northwestern dialects Baluchi, Talashi, South Caspian, Zaza, Gurani, etc. It is important to note that in Roman sources the Parthians are described as a unification of Medes and Scythians. Their costumes, culture, and language are described as a mixture of both, with increase of power being more like that of the Medes. Some linguists see a direct derivation from Median to Parthian and from Parthian to Kurdish. All three languages belong to the Northwest Iranian group of the wider Iranian language family and are from different time frames. Median is classified as Northwestern Old Iranian. Parthian was Northwestern from the Middle Iranian period. And Kurdish is a Neo-Iranian language from the Northwestern branch.